in the lake. We got a bit of cloud at present time. And what I like about remote working is that without any movement, without any location change, I can quickly connect with modern tool to many great people who have great information and help me achieve complex tasks. That's it.
Love it. Alex, you're next.
All right. My name's Alexander, but Alex is just perfect. It was short enough.
Oh, it was on it's on your Zoom, so that's why I said Alex.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
Alexander.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'm from Germany. I'm from a small town close to Stuttgart, so in the southwest of Germany. And well, what I love about remote work, it's quite hard to say.
It could also be something you don't like.
That's also hard to say. For me, just remote work feels like natural because I never thought of remote working as remote working. I just did it with my colleagues who are situated in Lithuania and China for years already, and so I'm kind of used to it. So it feels like more or less natural to me.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Thanks.
Sarah, we're saying our names, where we're from, and what we either like or dislike about remote working. So you can go next.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm in Orlando, Florida, United States. And I appreciate the flexibility with working remotely so that I can be with my family more easily without having to lose time to a commute and all the fun stuff that goes with having to drive into work every day.
Indeed. And I think is it Machi?
Yeah, it's Machi.
Right? Okay.
And if you want to go like with old Bible, it would be Matthias. But I'm using Machi, and I work in Poland. Like most of my teams are remote. So you guys all talk about stuff you like. I can go with stuff that I dislike. So I dislike the lack of focus. So if somebody wants to just turn off, they turn off, and there's nothing you can do about it. The other thing I don't like is that every single thing needs to be arranged. There has to be like a meeting scheduled someplace. Otherwise, it just is so messy, and it's not like free conversation that you can have any place at any time on any subject. So that would be my second thing. And the third thing I would say it's lack of being close to somebody, so lack of this like relation with the person. It's much harder to get it when you're in a different place and you're not seeing the other person like face to face, and you don't see the broader context. Here you will see only like what viewer wants you to see. So if I will go like that, then probably you'll see only me, and that's it.
Right.
So that would
Fair enough. Hopefully I have some tips for you today. We'll see.
Sure.
Tony, you're next.
Hi there. So what I do like about the remote working is I've just seen the sun in Florida at Sarah's camera, which in the UK, that is fabulous. So thank you very much for that gift. I work across the UK and Ireland, so I'm a combination of remote working and on-site. The things I really struggle with is I facilitate a lot of sessions. Obviously, facilitating remotely I find really challenging because I can't really tell whether people are engaged. When I'm coaching, however, I do quite like coaching remotely like this because it challenges me to get to know the person better, to be able to help them. So I've dabbled with lots and lots of tools, but I work at the moment with a financial services organization who don't like me trying anything new. So one of my challenges is how do you do it low tech and without installing things?
Yep, common problem. In fact, most of the people who take my workshop are banks, which is totally weird. So I have some tips for that. We can discuss that.
Actually, we're using one of those tools that doesn't need installation. So Zoom is one of those tools.
Because you can just send a link.
Yep.
Basically. Yeah.
You can run it in browser, and you don't need administration rights.
Yeah, indeed.
So good choice.
You still need to get permission sometimes from the IT folks, but we'll get into that. Marianne, how about you?
Right. I'm Marianne from the Netherlands near Utrecht, small village near Utrecht, and working remotely. I've had experience at my previous employer and current employer with teams that are located in either Thailand and currently in Sri Lanka. And with the Sri Lankan team, what I don't like is the fact that on the Sri Lankan side, they are restricted. They can't use video. And that makes it awful. And everything you can think of, which is difficult in working remotely with people. When you have video, it's about 10 times as hard when you don't have video.
Totally.
It's we're trying to get our Sri Lankan people to go against what they have been told, but that's a cultural challenge as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that is hard, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So Sam, how about you go next? It looks like Angela is setting up some different laptops. So we'll have you go next, and then we'll try to rope in Angela.
Okay, hi guys, and sorry, I have no electricity, hence the darkness surrounding me, so I'm not trying to be cryptic. So what do I like about remote working? I think, honestly, freedom. I would just say, literally, freedom encompasses everything. Freedom of where, when, how often, yeah. I love it. I just cannot not do it this way.
Once you taste it, it's hard to go back, that's for sure. And just to speak to Sam's darkness issue, there are these cool devices out there. This right here is the chat light. So this sits on the back of your laptop, and then it turns on. It's a light, and it illuminates you from anywhere that you are. And I don't know, can you guys see the links that I sent in the, I don't know if Sam, if you could repost the links I originally sent to you. You don't have to get a chat light like this. What I learned this weekend when I was doing some research is they have these selfie lights that go onto your cell phone. They're like little clip-on selfie lights, so you can take beautiful selfie photos. But they're totally ridiculous. But it works great for a situation like Sam. You just clip it to the back of your laptop. Because if you're in these countries where it gets dark really early and you have to have conversations at night, you want to be well lit on camera. It helps the engagement for the meetings. That's a remote working online meeting tip. So, but what I thought I'd do today, oh, Angela, are you up and running? Do you want to introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you love or do not love about remote working? I don't know if we can. Angela? We just see Angela ceiling.
Yeah, and she's muted on the other one.
Okay, we'll move on. So what I thought I'd do today is I went through the Work Together Anywhere workshop, and I took my favorite tips, the things that I thought was the most useful, and I've put them together and just sort of it's sort of a presentation, but it's more of a show off. I wanted to show off some of the tools. And what I don't want this to become is a presentation. So what I'd like to have happen is if you see something that's interesting, if you have a question or you have a story about something that you're seeing, I would love for you to just interrupt and chime in and let's talk, because all of you guys have experience obviously in doing this and can add a lot of depth to the conversation. But as we are going through all this conversation, I'm going to leave 10 minutes at the end, because what I'd like to do is have everybody share one new thing that they're going to try on their remote team or their situation tomorrow. Hey, woohoo, Sam. And so when I do my Work Together Anywhere workshop, what we do is everybody starts with a super action plan. And as we go through each module of the workshop, you write down 1 to 4 things that look appealing to you that you would want to try. So we're going to kind of do that today. You guys are going to come up with your own super action plan, 1 to 4 things that you might want to try. And at the end, we'll share it with everybody. So that's the super action plan. Because there's no formula to follow for successful remote working. It's 100 little things like good lighting and background that you put into place that makes remote working work for your team. So that's the idea of the super plan, is you just have this plan of little things you could try. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, which is going to mean that I'm not going to be able to see all of you at once. So if somebody raises their hand in order to interrupt, it's not something that I'm going to be able to see. So you're just going to have to verbally interrupt me in this case. I can only see 4 of you at once with Zoom when I'm like this. But you should be able to see my screen. So are you able to see my screen with me waving? Okay, so this is the first. Great. This is the first really cool tool that I love to show off. This is a tool called Personify. And it's a 3D camera that sits on the back of my laptop that projects me in front of whatever I want it to project me in front of. So at the moment, I have a PDF that I've just put together a few pictures to show you guys of some other cool tools. Yeah, So one thing that I like to show off about why this is so important and why video is so important, because let me just hide this avatar. And immediately, you can probably feel a drop in engagement. Like now it's just a voice and slides. So when I show myself again, yeah. So if you're doing online trainings or webinar or sales, this is a must-have tool, personify.com. I don't get any money for advertising them. Sadly, I don't have any affiliate program set up yet, but I should. If you just tell them I sent you, and maybe they'll give me bonus points one day. So I really want to focus around how we work online as if we were in the office together. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And I think there's 4 main components. And the first one is simulating the office so that, you know, so that we're working online as if we were in the office together. And there's a couple ways to do that. One, video. So Marianne, I know you guys aren't allowed to use video, but I try to push it as much as possible. Even if you can't use video all the time, sometimes just starting the conversation with 1 minute of video just to say hello and ending the conversation to wave goodbye, even that is better than not using video at all. So that's one point. How many people are able to use video? I'll try to quickly scroll through on their teams. Okay, so most, okay. So, but video really is the way of the future, and I'll show you a couple of reasons why. One other tool that's very interesting to look at is Sococo, and this is S-O-C-O-C. I'm sitting over it here, Sococo. And this is a virtual office, so you can only see and hear people that are in the office with you. That we're looking down into an office right now. Each box represents a room, and each one of these little avatars represents a person. Now the people that are at the very top there, we're all meeting in this lounge area here. The camera's a little bit cutting out. So we're all meeting down here. But I can see that there's people talking. There's some people over, I have to look. There's some people here in the bug triage room who are talking. There's some people up here in Henry's office who are talking. You can only see and hear people that are in the same room as you, and you can just double click to go to another room. So this is a way of like visualizing where your team is and seeing who's talking and hanging out, being able to very easily, I think, who was it that said, it was Machi, you said that you wanted to be able to just quickly have a conversation with somebody and see where they were. And this is a way of doing that, because you can see where everybody is, you can see if they're busy, and you can just knock on the door if you need somebody. I'll pause here. I get really excited, so I don't pause, but I'll pause here. Any questions or thoughts about Sococo?
So this is a virtual office and with virtual rooms, actually.
That's correct. That's correct. And there's a bunch of different templates for it. So you don't have to just have this office. You could have a more exciting, they have like 25 different templates that you can choose from. But it's getting to the point where video is getting pretty fantastic. And with a little bit of extra money, we can set up, this is called info presence here. So you can actually set up video monitors to simulate what it's like to sit across the table from each other. It can get quite expensive, but it's not necessarily that expensive. And if we want to go one step further in this sort of video world, most people that know me know that I'm a big fan of the telepresence robots. The one that you see on the left, that's a Kubi, which I have right here. I can show you how that works is you beam in, and it allows you to turn yourself from left to right or nod up and down. So if you're in an all in-person meeting and you have that one person who's remote, this is the perfect solution, because you can have them at the table with you, and they're able to turn themselves from left to right to see who's talking. They can nod their head. The movement really humanizes them. It's weird how it works, but having that movement kind of gives them more of a personality and a persona in the room. Now, the robots that you see here on the right-hand side, this is the drivable robots, the Beam Pros, and you can drive those using the arrow keys on your keyboard. So what you're seeing is my friend Kristen, who is in the orange beam. She's in Canada, and then I'm in the red beam. I'm in the Netherlands, in Nijmegen, Marianne, so not too far. And we're meeting together in a conference in Las Vegas. And we're driving around the conference, and we're going to presentations. We're looking at booths where we had tea together. It was super fun. So you can see how this could be applicable in the remote world. And these beams, they used to be expensive, but you can get them for about $2,000 now. So it's not that costly anymore. I want to show you some examples of how they're used. This is the office of the folks that make the Beam Pro. This is Suitable Technologies, and they're about 50% robot and 50% in the flesh on every single day. And in fact, their store in California is completely manned by robots. Yeah, I see your super card, Christian. It is awesome. So their store in California is completely manned by robots. There's not a single human in the store. So it's just you walk in the store and you're greeted by a robot. So super cool. And it seems like it'd be creepy, and it's only creepy if you don't know the person in the robot, apparently. But if you know the person, it's not so bad. And it opens up a whole new form of office humor, as you can imagine. I mean, just a wig and a bow tie, and you've got some fun going on. So the Kubi can be used also. So for instance, if you need to be in your office but your kids are sick at home, you can put your Kubi in your office and be home with your kids, and people can still come into your office as if you were there. So you're actually in two places at once, which is an awesome superpower to have. And so what all of these tools do, I could go on and on and on about the tools, and we'll get into some more of them, but what it does allow us to do is whole new ways of living as people are starting to experience. I'm sure everybody's heard of the digital nomad. This is a picture of Pierre Tofanin. He's a programmer from Italy, and he spent 2 years on the road with his wife, traveling the United States in a camper van, coding to pay for his expenses. So he would just find places with Wi-Fi and work, and he did this for 2 years. So you can see it looks pretty luxurious. In his interview, you'll hear it's harder than it looks. You know, you only see the pictures of people sitting on the beach and on the pool and all these things, but it is actually harder than it looks. But it is possible, which is, I think, pretty exciting. Does anybody have any digital nomad experience? Okay, just curious.
Would love to, though.
Indeed.
It's one of my goals for preferably the near future.
Great, great. I mean, it is possible. We just have to find the right kind of work to make it happen. So that's the exciting part. Now, speaking of other things that are possible, this was my favorite interview. Yegor. Who knows? How do you know Yegor, Marianne?
Because I disagree with him a lot. I know his blog.
Totally, Yegor. This was my most controversial interview. This is Yegor. He likes to poke the beehive, let's say that. He is one that is fine with conflict, but his interview is very interesting because he runs a company of about 200 freelancers who have never met or spoken to each other or even seen each other. They don't do video calls. They don't do in-person meetings. They don't talk on the phone. He runs his entire company through a ticketing system. So they break tasks down into small tasks. And the programmers, I know you're going to have a million questions. I don't have the answer to them. You have to go wrestle with Yegor to figure out how he does it. But he breaks the task down into small pieces. You get paid if you finish a task, and you don't get paid if you don't finish a task. And all conversation happens through a chat system. And he runs the company fairly successfully this way. So not to say that this is...
I would love to talk to the people that work for him.
He has people that have worked for him for years, and
Yes, there are those that do. Yeah, I know, and love it.
Can I ask why it was your most, what did you say, controversial, Lisette, interview? Or
Why it was the most controversial? Because
Yeah.
Yegor, in this interview, he states, "I don't believe in this team building crap. I don't think that clients should have to pay for my team to go out for beers." He says, I'm hiring people to produce results, and I will pay them for their results. Like, I don't care about their barbecues. I don't care about their wives. I just want them to do the job. Most teams have no interest in working in this way. I wouldn't. I really enjoy the camaraderie and the team building. But what I like about this interview is that he shows us that it's possible. Like, here's the extreme that you could go to, and it is possible given the tools these days. So it's an interesting interview to listen to.
But I think if these people are working this way, I think they don't consider themselves a team.
They don't. They're not.
I'm pretty sure that's just like I'm working on a task and that's it. That's not teamwork.
Yeah.
So
True.
just haphazardly finishing one tool together through a number of tasks doesn't make you a team. So
True.
I personally would not call that a team.
No, it isn't. And Jaeger has actually set up an what he called experiment somewhere in Poland, I think it was, during a conference to show that all this agile team crap was nonsense. Because if you, I think he experimented with how many things you could come up with in 2 or 3 minutes when you were working as a team or when you were working his style. And of course, it showed his style was winning, but I challenged him on that because a group of people isn't a team.
Right.
So give me a team any day, and they'll always win over a group of people, and they will certainly win over a team of basically robots in flesh.
Right.
That's how he's treating people, and that's why I would never go even near his company as a programmer. But some people
Absolutely.
are like that because they don't want to be involved with a team. And I actually spoke on chat with somebody who has Asperger's. He's a great scientist. He doesn't want to be in a team. He wouldn't function in a team.
Right.
He'd be great for Jaeger.
Yeah, there is a type for all of this. What I like about it is it shows what's possible. And it shows that there's now lots of different options for lots of different people, where in the past, we all had to conform a little bit to a certain type of, you went to an office, you sat in your cubicle, you did the Gantt charts, and it's changing now. And I like that there are people like Yegor, and there are people that are attracted to that kind of work too. And we have something for them. There's something for everybody. More options, which I think is great. So, but then what I really find exciting about this whole thing is what it allows people to do. And the next story I think is really, really inspiring, which is I got a chance to interview the team called R-Loop. And they met on Reddit, which is, man, how do you describe Reddit? It is basically the real world online with a lot more cats, maybe. So, but it's an online forum, basically. And they had a subreddit called the Hyperloop or the Reddit Loop. And one guy posted one day, and what the Hyperloop is it's a transportation system that Elon Musk is looking into building for SpaceX. And it's like a gravity-free transportation system that would get you from San Francisco to Los Angeles in 30 minutes. It's normally a 7-hour drive. So this thing just like shoots you through a tube from one city to another. Sorry, a cat just jumped on my desk. So one of the hazards also of remote working. But she'll take the monitor down, so I don't want her to do that. But what they did is one guy just posted one day and said, hey, I want to enter the SpaceX competition. And a bunch of other people just said, yeah, let's do it. And out of a competition of 1,800 people, they were one of the 6 finalists. So all remote, all volunteer, never met in person, all working through subreddits. So pretty interesting. Sorry, the cat is totally banging on the camera here, so let me get her off. She hasn't seen me all weekend, so she's being extra snuggly today. So when people say, can you work remotely, or can agile and remote working work, I'm thinking, man, the things that people are doing remotely this day, yes, it absolutely can work. If people want to make it work, if we're proactive, we can totally make it work. We just have to get the right systems into place. Like, look what R-Loop did. voluntarily without without anybody organizing it. It was just all self-organized. So, okay, well, that's our loop. I think it's a pretty inspiring story. But in order to do that, I mean, we all have our own different styles of working. So in order to really make it work efficiently together, we need to create team agreements. That's one of my main things that I put in the workshop, is creating a team agreement for how we're going to work together. It's just outlining our ways of working. Where are we going to share the files? Is there a shared calendar? Are there core hours? How are we going to communicate with each other, through HipChat, through Slack, through instant messaging? What's the main form of communication? And how do we know what each other are doing? So it's just a basic way of working guideline for doing that. And I'm not monitoring the chat, everybody, because I tend to get too distracted. So if you need something from me, please just interrupt. I just see the chat going by.
I was just saying that I was going off video because I don't want you to have to watch me eating.
That's lovely. Very lovely etiquette. Thank you. Okay, so let's. I want to show you some of the team agreements that we've done. So team agreements are just ways of working. It's nothing fancy. In the Agile world, they call them working agreements, I think, is the main way to call it. It's just like working agreements, but it's just about how to work together as a team. And it'll save you so much headache to get these basic things out of the way before you get the team started. This is an example, what I'm showing here on the screen, and the reason why we need these ways of working or these team agreements is because everybody has a totally different style for how they like to work. Some people like to be in co-working spaces, other people like to be at home alone. Some people like to be on the road. I mean, if you look at the guy's office up here, this is Hassan Osman's office. He's a senior project manager at Cisco System. You could like put a white glove over anything, any surface in that office, and you would not find dust anywhere, And on the other side of the screen, way on the other side, I can't point all the way over, that's Alfred. He's an old punk rocker, and you can just see the stacks of 100 records in the background. And when Hassan and Alfred saw each other's office, they both were like, "Oh, how could he work like that?" It was so funny when I showed them the pictures. So everybody has their own styles, but we need to come together as a team and work productively. So a team agreement, if you're interested, I have a PDF for some questions you can go and you can ask your team and sort of come up with your standard ways of working. And then I suggest just putting it in a Word document or a Google Doc or a wiki, whatever your team uses. And it's not meant to be dogma. It's meant to be reviewed regularly, because as you have new people on your team, as you have new tools you want to try, your way of working is and should change over time. So you want to be able to update that. The team agreement is also a perfect opportunity to learn about other people's cultures, because it's team agreements are just about defining what's normal for your team. And I think culture is also defining what's normal for your country, what's normal for your area, what's normal for you. And creating a holiday calendar as part of your team agreement is a great idea, because holidays are all about culture. And when you ask about people's holidays, you get to learn about food and traditions and what they do during these holidays, families. You just get to learn so much. So I always like to say, create a holiday calendar. That's a super easy one, and it's fun. Okay, any questions up till here? I'm blazing through, but I want to shoot a bunch of tips at you guys. So
Can I add something, Lisette?
Sure.
I'm working with a team where we have half the team is in Jamaica, and then half the team is here in Orlando, where I'm at, and our company is quite distributed. And as part of our team working agreement, we did this really cool activity where we said, what's the best way to communicate? We went around the room and everybody said what was the best way to communicate with them, if they prefer IM, and if so, which chat client works best for them. We agreed to Slack, but the whole company uses Google Hangouts. So which was the best way to contact them if it mattered. And if they prefer you to call them immediately or chat or send an email, that type of thing. And then also, if I'm upset, how can you tell that I'm upset? Or it was questions like that. I don't remember exactly what they were.
That's a good
obviously. Yeah, I thought that those were really great, especially with the distributed team, since everybody works so differently. And we found out as part of that conversation that some people are sharper in the evening, so they'd prefer to work late so they have time to focus, whereas some people come in early so they have time to focus, which is part of the core hours. Discussion is part of the the team agreement as well. But I just loved that extra facet that we hadn't done before, that I hadn't done before, about like the best way to communicate with you and how to know when you want me to leave you alone, if I should reach out to you for every little question, or if you'd prefer I try and do some research myself and then reach out, if it would frustrate you if I didn't research first, you know, like that type of thing. So that was a really cool thing to add.
Totally. My tip is always to keep it simple also. I had one team who created a team agreement, and they put in there like how to wear their hair and what kind of clothing was acceptable. And I was like, you guys, too much detail. Like you can wear your hair anywhere you want, you know, like just like at the office. So keep it to the basics. You want to leave breathing room also for people.
Lisette, I get just thinking about the team agreement. Just starting a new team, which is not virtual but co-located, and we just ran through the same issue, which means building an agreement, even if it's not a virtual team.
Yeah.
Like how do we communicate? When is a good time to meet and stuff like that. So I think there's a bunch of stuff which we valid for either a co-located team or virtual team. For virtual, I see the use of video and virtual tool. Do you have any special agreement point which are only for virtual team?
No, because what I find is if you're a co-located team, you can get away with having sloppy processes. Like, you know, you don't need to necessarily know how you communicate because you're going to see each other every day and you'll figure it out. And the files don't always have to be in the same place because you can just ask Bob down the hall. But you can't have sloppy processes when you go virtual. So it's not that something that needs to be particular special for virtual, but if you're a remote team that does not have a team agreement, you're really a lot worse off than if you did. Whereas with an in-person team, you can kind of afford to be sloppier. I don't know if that is helpful or not,
Yeah,
or if people disagree.
You made it to the point, which means that any misaligned stuff in a virtual team just going to have huge consequence, whereas in a co-located team, you're going to have local resolution or a side resolution, which is not possible on a virtual one.
Yeah, it's fixable faster. It's fixable faster.
I got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so I'll share my screen again. We have a few more things to go through, but still feel free to interrupt. I want to talk about online meetings really quickly because mostly people think that they are one of Dante's 7 layers of hell. And they usually are. I mean, they're usually really bad, but there are a few things that we can do to make them better. So I wanted to just highlight a couple of things. And the first one is, and everybody's done great on this call tonight, I'm super proud, is minimizing the background noise. I mean, that barking dog and the chirping bird, they're cute at first, but they quickly get in the way. And when we go remote, we're trying to have a high bandwidth conversation. You know, you want to get online and talk to somebody without the internet being bad and without sound issues, and minimizing background noise is a huge one. So everybody's done really good. And you guys all you're all on mute when you're not speaking. You're really a bunch of pros already. So this is great. The other thing I always recommend is arriving early and testing your equipment before you get there. And with tools like Zoom, it's becoming less and less important to do that because it's so reliable. But when you're in person, you can slide into a meeting at the last minute, sit down, and be fully present. But when you're virtual and you try to do that, chances are you're going to slide in and your headset's not going to work, or you're going to have to reboot, or something's not, you just don't, like you just ran Skype and now Zoom doesn't work, or something's going to happen and you're going to spend the first 10 minutes wasting everybody's time trying to get your setup. So the other thing that arriving early does, besides allowing you to test your equipment, is you can build in some personal time. You know, if we on the Happy Melly team, we have this unstated rule where you can arrive 5 to 10 minutes before the meeting starts for those that want to hang out and like chit chat about the weekend. And for those that want to start on time, they can just start on time. So it can also be useful for that. I was just going to breathe and let somebody jump in if they have that. The other is I'm a big believer in starting with an icebreaker question. As you noticed today, I started with an icebreaker question, and there's 2 reasons for it. One, it's super fun. You get to learn a lot about people, a lot of different things about people. It's no longer just Bob from engineering. It's Bob who likes the color green, and he takes his kids canoeing on the weekends, and he's a baseball coach. So you slowly over time become really familiar with people. But the other thing, and the more important thing that it does, is it gets everybody speaking before the meeting starts. And science shows that if you've spoken once, you're more likely to speak out again. So that's the main reason, is for these icebreaker questions. Of course, it's not appropriate for every single meeting. These are just suggestions. And just if you thought that online meetings were already hell, recording your online meetings and watching them later, that sounds like even worse, but actually it's not that bad. And the people that are watching the meetings get that added sense that they feel like they're there, like you kind of feel like you're part of the meeting, with the benefit of fast forwarding through the parts
Probably
that
I
are
can jump in.
Yeah, please do.
Sorry, my internet is kind of unstable today. Uh,
You are indeed breaking up. Yeah, you're indeed breaking up. But try without video. That can sometimes help. Oh, I think he's gone. Oh no, he's not. Can't hear you. Maybe put it in the chat. That'll be our last resort, is going to the chat. Things like this with with remote teams, you got to have great internet or you're doomed, right? And we all have unstable internet at times, but in general, if you can pay for the extra bandwidth, then it's worth every penny. Tony, I see you're talking, but I can't hear you. I don't know. I'm going to take it off sharing so you can see everybody. Still can't hear you. Strange. Try again. Try unmuting again and seeing what happens. It's lower left. Nope. Unplug your microphone and see if you can just talk directly. There we go. We heard sound there.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
We sure can.
Excellent. Okay. I was just curious, the cards you keep flashing up. Maybe I missed at the start of the call. Where are they from?
I made these. These are my collaboration super cards. So I have a whole deck. Christian has them too.
All right. They're brilliant.
Yeah, and video calls, you need virtual cues, right? You need to be able to tell
Yeah.
people, like, I can't hear you because they're not going to know, or you're breaking up, or or you're frozen. So I'll send the link.
That in my super action plan. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, they're super fun. Yeah. So, okay, but recording your meetings, I mean, that's where being remote has a benefit over being in person, because not only, do you feel like you're part of the conversation, you get to see how the conversation happened. And as a remote team, we can't always be there at the same time. The Happy Melly team, we have never been as a whole team on one call together, I don't think. I can't remember a time when that's happened. So recording the meetings is good.
Is that because of time zones?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, you can't, life, we're all freelancers working for the team, and life happens, and you just can't be there. But it's okay. When you record the meetings, you really get all the context. And then, of course, everybody says this on remote teams, schedule unstructured time. This is my friends Laura and Gretchen having virtual lunch together. They just have a half an hour set aside every week where they have lunch together, and the only rule is no work talk, just lunch. And that's where, you're never going to unless you're in a virtual office like Sakoko, you will never just accidentally bump into somebody online and hang out. So Sakoko does give you those asynchronous moments, but otherwise we have to build them into our day.
I have a question, Lisette. What if you work with a team that is super busy and overloaded already, and they don't feel like they have time for that? Is there some way to try and convince them?
What I would do is, what we did on the Happy Melly team is we just it's half an hour, or now it's 15 minutes even. 15 minutes every week, we call it Kitten Talk. Those who are around show up, and those who, so it's not obligatory. It's just whoever's there and wants to hang out. Just like you would in the coffee room, it's not everybody on the same time.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And Alex, you're back. Want to try your sound?
Yeah, could work.
Yeah, it works. So far, so good.
Thanks.
Okay. And I know we're running a little bit over. I'll try to go fast, but because I want to hear what's on your action plans at the end. This was, you get creative. We had a virtual dance party once. Jen DJ'd. Now we sort of take turns DJing as we do this. Great for meeting breaks, because sometimes you just need to stand up and move your body. So just 1 minute of dancing and then coming back is always good. Maybe a little bit silly. I wanted to give everybody that showed up today a gift. So for the super cards, you can buy a whole deck of super cards, and then I also have a super card sampler PDF that you can download, and it's just the eight most popular super cards. And so that's at collaborationsuperpowers.com/gift. And I also have a great flyer, 36 great tips for online meeting facilitation. So that should give you a bunch of meeting facilitation tips also. So just wanted to mention that. Okay, and last thing I want to talk about is feedback and appreciation. So I'm going to really blaze through this because I want to actually talk about the super action plans more than I want to talk about this. But I did want to say on remote teams, all mediums are not created equal. Texting is and doing everything over writing is very dangerous. So I know Yegor does it, but I think it's very dangerous. As soon as it starts to get emotional, I always say go e-face to e-face as quickly as possible. Whether it means picking up the phone or having a video call, don't do it over text. We've all sent that email we shouldn't have sent. I'm sure of it, and I'll be the first to admit that I've done it way too often. The other thing that you guys, I'm sure, are very aware of is 360-degree peer-to-peer feedback. So it's not top-down feedback from managers to employees, but it's 360 degrees from everybody to everybody. One method is merit money. I won't go too much into that. We can post a link to merit money. I'm sure everybody's heard about it from Jürgen, though. Works really well. There's a system called Bonusly that is set up to do merit money. There's another system called You Earned It. For every tool I mentioned, there's 5 or 10 competitors. So, but I'm just mentioning my favorite ones. But the only thing I don't like about Bonusly is that it allows you to see how everybody ranks. And I find that builds a competitive piece into the whole thing that I don't really like that much, because I tend to be very competitive. And I always want to be at the top. A lot of you are Agile, so you'll know that Agile retrospectives or regular retrospectives are super important. There's a fantastic tool called Retrium. I'll send you the link also. I love this tool. Retrium that does online retrospectives. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Alex, it looks like you've used it, so it's good. I'm really a big fan. And showing appreciation. On co-located teams, it already doesn't happen enough. But on remote teams, out of sight is out of mind, and people don't often say thank you. And one really easy way to do it is on Twitter. If you have a Twitter account, and so does the other person, then go to kudobox.co, and you can send a kudo via Twitter. Just saying thank you is really important. But there's lots of great ways, lots of creative ways as remote workers that we can say thank you. I mean, you can always send people a pizza. Almost anywhere in the world, you can send a pizza and it'll be super appreciated. Because whether it's for dinner or for breakfast, pizza is always, at least where I'm from, pizza is always good. But coffee cards from all over the world, book stipends, fitness bands, the Fitbits, house cleaning services. I mean, there's all kinds of great ways to say thank you for remote workers.
One more addition, I sent M&Ms to my Lithuanian team. They were totally happy with that. And you can have M&Ms with small messages or pictures on them. That's just great, and they love it.
Awesome.
Waffles.
What is it?
Stroopwafels.
Stroopwafels, yeah, true. Dutch treats, local treats. I mean, local treats, to give people an idea of what the food is like in your culture. Awesome idea. Oh, you get food from all over the world. But it is really important that we celebrate success. This is, my friend Gretchen and I wrote a book a few years ago, and this was us celebrating after every chapter. We had virtual pie together after we finished a chapter. Super nice thing to do, really easy. Just have pie, just celebrate, acknowledge your accomplishments. Okay, so these were sort of my 4 pillars of what I think makes remote teams work. And this was sort of my favorite tips that I put together just for this. I knew we didn't have too much time today. If you want the full thing, then I highly recommend taking the Work Together Anywhere workshop. It's offered online, also in person, but I recommend online, because if you want to learn how to work online, you got to do it online. So what I'd like to know now is what's on your super plan. So the way we'll do it is I'll call somebody, like we'll start with Sarah, and then Sarah, after you tell us what's on your super plan, you pick the next person.
Okay. And this was 1 to 5 things that we're going to do to follow up to this.
Yeah, let's just for time purposes, let's stick to 1 or 2 things that you're going to do.
Okay. I liked the idea of the unstructured time. That was something that I had said I wanted to do and kind of dropped the ball on with my team that is half in Jamaica, half here in Orlando. So I like the idea of just scheduling it and seeing who shows up, because I wasn't sure how to get people to attend. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll call on Marjan.
I'm here. One of the things I'm going to do is work on the team agreement, but I have a challenge there because I have one person who is a super control freak. So that's going to be a challenge. The other thing I was thinking of is building in personal time. That's something I've heard earlier and wanted to do anyway, but with the videos and try and get them up and running. Try and get the remote team, or rather the remote members of our team, to try and buck the system there. We'll cover them. Our project manager and product manager both agree that we should do this. So it's just a matter of getting them on board and bold enough to try it. I'm going for Tony.
Hi. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely try calibration supercars, and I can't believe I've never thought of that before. It's so simple but brilliant. And I'm also going to see if I can get the organization I'm with to try personify, because it seems a good enough tool to push really hard to get that installed. And then there was something else I was going to share with the group. I've always found, because I work with big teams and distributed offshore development teams, one of the things I've found all the time is people saying, no, it's too hard, you can't do this. I've always experienced if you demonstrate it yourself first, you role model it, it's more likely to happen than just saying it. So the example I had was I trained the whole team distributed for 2 days. It was absolutely chaotically hard, but by doing it, it took away the arguments and this is all too hard, and opened the opportunity for people to say, well, let's try this. So I've always found role model it first and people are more likely to follow.
Totally. It's a good point, especially with video. If you're willing to put your video on when other people aren't and just sit through the uncomfortableness, people will eventually join in because they see the value. It's so much more valuable. Okay, Tony, you choose the next person.
I'm going to go for, and I'm going to get your name wrong here. Was it Marcy or Marcy?
It's Maciej. Close enough.
Marcy. Sorry, Marcy.
Yeah, I got it, so no problem. So I like the idea of if you are like 5 minutes before the meeting, then it's time just to have a general talk about anything. So that's a nice tip. So this is my takeaway from this talk.
And you pick the next person.
And I will pick Sam. One in the darkness.
I know, one in the dark, mysterious one.
Yeah, that's
well, I'm going to invest in that light so that, what is it, necessity breeds creativity, something like that. No, I think 2 things that I knew, but I think you reinforced. One was the icebreakers before things. So I do coaching workshops and seminars, and I do the icebreakers, but sometimes I'm just like, we won't do it. But you're right about getting people talking, so that you just reinforced that. And the other was the gratitude ones. I sent my friend pizza when she had a baby in the hospital, and like the pizza guy was running around looking for her. It was a whole big disaster, but it was funny and they appreciated it. And so totally agree with on the pizza, the handwritten cards. So I want to take some more time and energy and put into that. I think that's a great idea. Who hasn't gone? Sarah, have you gone? You've gone. Alexander.
Okay. Well, I will definitely also have a look into Personify, because part of my job is also online trainings, and I think for that also works perfectly for trainings, as we've seen today. And also the team agreement is going to be part of my next steps. I already planned some meetings with the community and with my team. So there's actually going to be like 2 teams where I want to do this agreement on. And probably as a short remark, I also definitely going to keep using Retrium. My boss already looked at it and he also likes it, and probably we will get the budget to buy some licenses. That would be awesome. So, who's left?
I think Christian.
Christian.
Okay, I'm last. The first thing I'm going to establish at every meeting is this icebreaker question. Now, I know after your explanation, Lisa, the background, that it helps everybody to speak during the meeting, and I didn't knew this, so that's a big win. So I'm going to try it and check the difference in the meeting. And the other thing is I wanted to try, I never did it, is the feedback tool. How do you call this? Retrium.
Oh, Retrium.
So
yeah.
Retrium. I want to give it a go and see how it works.
I've put a link into Retrium. It's my affiliate page, but I think you get like 2 free retrospectives if you go through my affiliate page. So I don't know what I get. I think I just get bonus points or something. But you get 2 free retrospectives, so do that. And Angela, I don't know if you're here still or if you've been listening. I don't know if you. I missed the chat.
She's just typing now.
Ah, okay. Okay, great. Listeners are also welcome. Cool. Well, so I wanted to just reiterate, it's not a silver bullet way of making remote teams work. It's little things. I mean, the nice thing is that it's not rocket science, but the thing is that it has to be done. You actually have to execute on these things in order to make it work. If we're not deliberate and if we're not proactive, then things totally fall to the wayside, and it just gets sloppy. So that's hopefully my message to you, and I hope that you will try it, and I hope that you'll report back on some of these things if you do. I'd love to hear about it in the remote working channel. So that's all I had today in general, but I hope it was useful.
Yeah, and first of all, thank you, Lisette. It was fabulous. I thought it was amazing. And just so you guys, we didn't say this at the beginning, this is the first of our new series called Seminar Speaker Series. So Lisette, you've kicked it off, and just so you guys know, we've been talking about it. We're going to do this once a month with a different person. And it's going to be for members only. So it's a new service we're offering. Obviously love your feedback. The videos will be available, but only for members. So we're going to make them, I don't know, technologically, it'll be only for members. We'll figure that part out. So yes, just thought I'd add that in. And thank Lisette for being our first ever.
Woo! Somebody's got to start it off, right?
Yeah.
Great. Any last minute thoughts from people? All right. Well, let's get back to our evenings. Indeed. Awesome.
Yeah. What Christian says.
Thank you for sharing.
Right. I'll see you guys online.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Good time, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.